Democrats have become the no party. Biden must mumble MAGA Republicans in his sleep, since he won't talk to them. No single notion has served the Democratic Party better than its assertion that the Republicans are a party of extremism. It dates at least to the 1950s. The details or truth of these charges hardly matter anymore. It's sufficient at all times to typecast Republicans as the far right, the extreme right, paranoid, and currently, MAGA Republicans. Joe Biden must mumble MAGA Republicans in his sleep. It looks as if this script is starting to get flipped. Democrats all of a sudden are turning into the party of dug-in extremes, while Republicans are talking compromise and increasingly even reconciliation with their political opponents. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's successful effort to pass a debt ceiling bill has to be the most unexpected and shocking event of the season. No one expected the motley crew that opposed Mr. McCarthy's speakership to display unity on anything serious, such as raising the debt ceiling. But they did. Attaching spending reforms to a debt ceiling extension normally would be a yawner, the sausage factory at work. These aren't normal times. With inflation persistent and the economic future uncertain, voters aren't yawning about the Washington sausage factory. By any measure, except the incumbent president's no-limits outlays, the spending reduction provisions in the McCarthy bill are modest. Discretionary spending, which excludes the entitlement tsunami, would fall to fiscal 2022 levels, with annual spending growth limited to 1% for 10 years, a total deficit reduction of $4.8 trillion. On cue, Democrats just said no. Calling the bill truly extreme, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told Mr. McCarthy to stop wasting any more time on this DOA, dead on arrival, bill. Mr. Biden said the McCarthy bill was not negotiable. House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries has extreme MAGA Republicans on autopilot. During the Obama years, the Republicans were called the Party of No. Suddenly, with the debt ceiling looming and House Republicans putting an actual plan on the table, Democrats have become the Party of No. Someone must have noticed this reflexive obstruction wasn't a good look, because on Monday Mr. Biden said he would meet with all 4 congressional leaders, though not until next week. He must be busy. Normally one doesn't look for campaign speeches some 18 months before a presidential election to reveal anything useful, but remarks recently by Republicans Nikki Haley and Tim Scott also suggest the parties may be changing places. Former South Carolina Governor Haley's speech was about abortion. After the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, abortion played a large role in the midterms, defeating some Republicans and limiting the party's gains. The GOP's chances in a national election depend on coming up with a position other than a total ban. 2 things are notable about Ms. Haley's speech. First, it was probably the most good faith effort any public official has made in a long time to come to grips with the divisions over abortion. Second, the odds that a Democrat would deliver an abortion speech remotely similar in sympathy to pro-life beliefs are 0. Actually, less than 0. Democrats are dug in on abortion on demand without limits. Most won't say that out loud, but that's because they won't talk about details. Like the debt ceiling, it's simply non-negotiable. That isn't the position of most Americans, who want abortion available but with some restrictions later in pregnancy. Ms. Haley conceded these conflicts. Virtually no office-holding Democrat ever will. Ms. Haley hardly speaks for all Republicans, but her sincere concession to reality was a noteworthy reversal of partisan roles. The Democrats' obstructionism is tied to their view of how the American system should work, which is to say with no deviation standards for behavior, belief and policy set nationally by Congress, the executive branch or the Supreme Court. This opposition to any decentralization of authority ensures relentless political street fighting. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who may get into the Republican presidential primary race soon, took up some of the country's intense cultural divisions over race and gender with a speech in Iowa recently. What struck me about Mr. Scott's speech was that he managed to promote reconciliation and optimism without diluting his core principles. I see a future where common sense has rebuilt common ground, Mr. Scott said, where we've created real unity, not by compromising away our conservatism, but by winning converts to our conservatism. Where are the Democrats Tim Scott's and Nikki Haley's? At any opportunity, their most prominent leaders, Mr. Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Mr. Schumer, dump ridicule and mockery on the opposition. It's looking a lot like a substitute for substance or argument. Democrats themselves would say the most prominent Republicans today, Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, are themselves reflexively belligerent and uncompromising. Fair enough. My point is one of simple political observation. The Democrats' unto eternity strategy of positioning Republicans as a party of extremes and obstruction sounds shopworn. Democrats seem to think yes means just shipping cash into a grateful country. It looks like the post-pandemic electorate wants this country improved with something more than money. Democrats have become the no party. Biden must mumble MAGA Republicans in his sleep, since he won't talk to them. No single notion has served the Democratic Party better than its assertion that the Republicans are a party of extremism. It dates at least to the 1950s. The details or truth of these charges hardly matter anymore. It's sufficient at all times to typecast Republicans as the far right, the extreme